I was just a mess. Like, I would never contemplate suicide, but like, you name it, everything happened to me, you know. Like my fiance, she got raped while I was at work, all this stuff, then she left. And then she just like couldn't cope with life anymore, and then she went out, you know, became a drug addict, went out in the streets, stuff like that, became homeless, and then took my kids away. So that's when I fell apart, you know, because like I'm like, nah. I'm Pete Chaves, or Pete the Punisher Chaves. I'm 56 years old. I was born June 5th, 1966. I grew up in the west side of Phoenix, bad part of town, 35th and Van Buren, like around that area. I went to school, like a lot of the real bad schools. I went to like Butler, Isaac, and back then, like right now it's still a really bad area. A lot of crime, drugs, and then back then it was mostly gangs, like every corner you turn, you know, Wedgwood, 35th, Lotte Maravilla, Hollywood, all these different gangs and stuff. So I grew up like that. And then I grew up mostly from like a large family and a single family home. My dad wasn't around too much, so not having role models, a father, you know, around, or even a father figure. Got me into a lot of trouble, involved with the gangs, even though I wasn't a bad kid, but when that's all that's around you, you know, and stuff like that. So I became involved in gangs and getting more of my share of trouble and things like that. We had to work in the fields. My dad, that's what he did. He was a foreman in the field, so we'd always like, in the summer, instead of being like regular kids and having fun or even taking vacations, we'd go spend it in California, and not like a fun part of California. And we'd be like in this camp, you know, it was horrible. We'd have to, from morning, still dark outside, till nighttime, picking grapes. One of my first places I was at was actually with my church, Streets of Destiny Church, and I would sublet for my pastor, and training, you know, like the kids over there that really needed it, and then that's a bad area, gangs, all that stuff like that. So we had a couple of kids that were involved in the gangs, and they had their younger brothers and other stuff, and then I had to throw a couple of them out because of their behavior and what they were doing. I'm like, no, we don't do that here.
The owner of a Phoenix nonprofit needs your help tonight after he was targeted by vandals overnight.
Pete Chaves arrived at work early Tuesday morning to find his Central Phoenix boxing gym ransacked.
These were punctured, and it went through to the bladder.
Sometime overnight, vandals broke in and stuck knives in his punching bags. They even cut the ropes to Pete's newly installed boxing ring.
We'll basically have to get a new rope.
If that wasn't enough, the vandals walked off with several sets of boxing gloves. Inside his office, they left Pete a threatening note.
Trying to intimidate me, see if I keep on doing that with the gangs, that my life is in jeopardy.
Pete tells me the vandals targeted him because of his work to keep kids away from gangs. But vandalism like this, Pete says, only makes him even more determined.
Yeah, there's been all kinds of adversity and stuff, but that's what they told me in the beginning. Like, if you sincerely want to do something good in life, you know, and you're really, really trying to make an effort, like, be ready. Because, like, evil's going to come after you. Evil's going to come after you. You hit 30. We're going to hit, let's hit 30, 30, 100, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Alternating. Alternating, see? Alternate. Alternate. Okay. Give it about another week and we'll have sparring, okay? About another week. But we'll start off just like, that's still kind of early. It's still kind of early, but I think like we'll like just take them in slow, you know, we'll work with them. So, all right. So when we put them in, that's still early. That's only a month, so after a month, but we'll work with them slowly.
Let's go.
Okay. We have, that's it, huh? Right?
Let's go.
Okay. You'll go ahead. Next round, we'll get to it. So get on back. Next round, we'll get you in. So we'll have one. I never thought it'd be boxing, but yeah. So this is the way we do it now. This is like. It's incredible the way it works. So we use the boxing, you know, as an outlet. The kids, even the people that I train for one-on-one training, you know, same thing. We help them a lot, and it's just amazing because like I have my coaches, and even my coaches, you know, they're great with the kids, and then they're doing the same thing. We're passing it on. And then I tell my kids, I'm trying to not make you guys all professionals or do this. And a lot of you guys aren't going to want to turn pro. A lot of you guys aren't even going to want to box as amateurs. So we're here not to just help you with that, but to help you, you know, become leaders, become better human beings. Opportunity, like whenever you get an opportunity to work with coach, make sure you don't blow it, all right? Because he's going out of his way to do that. So if he's going out of his way to do that, you guys better make sure you're on time, you're calling him when you're supposed to call him, and you're doing whatever he asks, okay? Good. What happened, she was my fiance, and we were just about to get ready to get married. You know, I bought her the ring. She even had her dress, everything like that. And I was working nights at that time, and she ended up getting raped from somebody in our complex that lived there and all that, and I was at work. And yeah, she had called me at work, told me what happened, and I just over there, and I was like, I had every intention of like killing the guy if I had got a hold of him, you know, obviously. And I had barely missed him and everything and stuff. And then the cops did get him, and then I never, you know, like it was, we had to go through this whole thing, and later on with the courts and stuff. And she just, after that, I tried to get her help, you know, and she went to therapy for a little bit and just couldn't deal with it. And then she left and ended up becoming addicted to drugs and has been ever since then. I wasn't afraid, I was terrified, because that's 2 lives you have in your hands, and then your own, you know, son and daughter, and like, oh my God, and you question yourself, and like, God, I don't care, I know, like, okay, I'm working 6 days, if I have to do this, if I have to do that, can I hold up, can I, you know, am I gonna raise them correctly, am I, you know, like, am I gonna have a babysitter for this time, I'm working nights, it's harder, it was such a struggle, and always like, if I had a good babysitter, I had a family member, if I lost him, if I had somebody else, and just the money spending on that alone and working so much, and then not having much of a social life, because like I'm like, okay, I'm working nights, I'm exhausted, and it was back-breaking work, you know, not hardly getting any sleep, and I don't know how the hell I did it, but I'd always make sure I had quality time with my kids, and it was scary because you're always questioning yourself, am I doing this right, am I doing that right, and yeah, it was like terrifying, but I just, you know, I loved them to death, and I don't want them to live the kind of life I had. So that was my biggest, you know, obviously my biggest influence. Like I said, we get the stereotypes all the time. If you're a boxer, you're not intelligent, you're not articulate, you're not this and that and stuff. And there's a lot of things that people like that I do that would surprise them. But hopefully what I get known for is just like, for being a kind man, for being like, you know, loving. Because I'm not afraid to show that. Like people, they act like, oh, you're tough. And like, no, I'll tell anybody. I give hugs here all the time. I'm a hugger, you know. I hug people at first, so they're all uncomfortable. Get over here, you know. And I surprised a lot of people because people are always afraid of me in the beginning. They're like, I was afraid of you, coach. I was like, you look scary, things like that. But I'm like, nah, you know, I'm a very loving person, and that's why I hope people remember me as a kind person, as a loving person, and they do the same.
Something